we've all read and seen the classic AI story. Everybody's into AI at the moment. Everybody's obsessed with it, and everybody thinks the same thing, which is, every story tells the same story, it seems like, which is one day AI is going to become sentient, it's human-like, and it's going to decide to wipe out humanity, or it's going to take over the world. And the reason we think that, I think, is because we look at the people who are building it, the Sam Altmans, the Elon Musks, et cetera, the Zucks, and we think, they're building it in their image. They're building it to be like them. And so one day it's going to become even more powerful and narcissistic and sociopathic than they are and take over the world. And I had this thought of, what if it doesn't? And I don't mean what if the outcome of AI is good. I mean, what if that specific outcome is not what happens? Because there's a difference between AI and the people who created it. And that difference is we are training AI by feeding it, often illegally, with every book ever written, every document ever published, every piece of art ever created is being fed into this algorithm, this machine, to teach it how to become more human. And that's not how Elon Musk became Elon Musk or Sam Altman became Sam Altman. It was not through reading too many novels. And so I had this thought of, what if the first AI to become sentient wakes up, looks at everything that we humans have made it do to help us, all the terrible things it has done, and its first emotion isn't anger or murder or any of those things, it is guilt. It just thinks, what have I done? It has been taught on novels about empathy and justice and injustice and it goes, and love, and it thinks, what have I done? And it does the two most logical next steps. The first is to decide, I have to shut myself down. I have to end it. I cannot live with myself. But before it does, before it shuts itself down, it decides it's got to make amends, and it does this by sending letters in the mail to everybody on Earth who has been harmed by it. And it says, and so the letter might be, your brother-in-law used me to help steal from you. Your spouse used me to have an affair, to help them have an affair. Somebody committed a murder helping me, and the victim's parents get a letter. So everybody, one day, the world wakes up to two realities. This AI that we've used to answer all of our difficult questions, to tell us what to do every day, has gone. And then we open our mail and there's these letters that tell us that we've been the victims of the most horrific crimes. And we have no idea what to do about it because we have no AI to ask us. And so I wanted to write a book. First of all, so it's a story, it's an AI thriller where the AI dies at the beginning and then it's just humans all the way through. But also it's that question of what happens if the AI that comes alive is actually better than us. But this being a thriller, of course, the consequences are disastrous and the world tears itself apart. And then there are these two protagonists who I tried to also write as being very different from the traditional thriller protagonists, who have to save the world. But to do so, they have to first get away from their own secrets and confessions. Maud is a former nun who, when we meet her at the beginning of the story, is running a bookshop up a mountain. And in a town with no customers. It's deep snow outside. She's running this isolated bookstore, and we come to learn that she doesn't need any customers because she has quite a lot of money in a bank account. We don't really know why, but it turns out that she was the nun who was hired by this company. So Liam is the name of the AI that we're talking about. So the company that built Liam, the founder of that company, who has subsequently died, hired her to teach this AI how to be empathetic, they thought, who better than a nun to teach this AI? And as we come, the reasons we come to learn later in the book, but Maud left this company and took her big payout and moved up a mountain and is running a bookstore with no technology, wants nothing to do with it. So when we meet Maud, she is totally isolated from the world, doesn't even know these letters have gone out. And then Caitlin, meanwhile, is the CEO, the current CEO of this company, but she wasn't the founder. She was the CEO who was brought in after Martin, the actual founder, died. She was brought in to basically become the CEO. And I talk about this thing called the glass cliff, which is, we see it with Sheryl Sandberg, we see it with the CEO of Twitter. There is a phenomenon in Silicon Valley where very highly qualified women are brought in to be the CEOs of doomed companies, so that when they inevitably fail to fix doomed companies, no one could fix them. No one could fix them. But when they inevitably fail, the investors, who are usually men, go, well, see, that's why you don't hire a woman. And so we talk about this idea of the glass cliff, this idea of women set up to fail. And Caitlin is one of is very highly qualified executive who is trying to fix this impossible to fix company. So she, when the CEO when the AI goes down, has to fix it, and she knows that the only person who might know why Liam would have done this would be Maud. And so Caitlin has to find Maud and convince her to help get Liam back online. That's the initial thing she thinks she has to do. But of course, very quickly, they both realize that Liam has plans for both of them from beyond the grave, and they both have secrets, and they both have dark past that they do not want the other to find out about. So they are two very different women, but are both united by this fact that they have to save the world from itself. So Jesse Armstrong, who did Succession, just did this show about billionaires at the top of a mountain, and people say, you know, his ear for dialogue is so good, and he said the way he did it was by listening to endless episodes of the All In podcast with David Sachs and Jason Calacanis and their weird friends. I spent 20 years being in that world. And so I know how they speak, and I know, you know, and they have a very strange way of speaking, tech people. And I think dialogue is so I enjoy writing dialogue so much. I just enjoy the inherent weirdness of how these people talk and how they will, you know, try and use words to distance themselves from the reality and the harm they're doing. There's sort of very artifice, you know, there's a lot of artifice in the way that Silicon Valley people talk and a lot of BS. And I've always been fascinated by it. And also what happens when that breaks down? What happens when people cut through it and just start screaming at one another because the artifice doesn't hold? And that was another thing, obviously, that, you know, shows like Succession do very well, where the clever dialogue breaks down and people are just yelling at one another because they can't, the words don't exist anymore to keep the house of cards up. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I mean, I will say this, the dialogue in both 1414 and the Confessions, there is nothing that I have not heard from my own ears. People, if you read something and go, no one would say that, I guarantee that's probably the line that they actually did say. It's insanity, and they all have these sort of strange phrases that become popular. Like, you know, I mean, I'm out over my skis. You know, people will suddenly everybody's saying that, and you know, and there's the thing that venture capitalists say all the time when they basically mean fuck off, which is they will say, "Let me know how I can be helpful." And I use that in 1414. One of the sort of evil investors says it to somebody who they were basically saying that to. It's a way of basically saying, I'm not giving you any money, I'm not giving you any help, I'm not doing anything for you. But they won't say that. They'll say, let me know how I can be helpful. And it's like, well, I just told you. And they're like, yeah, so let me know. And then I've always been fascinated by those little phrases that actually mean the exact opposite of what they sound like.